Music has always been a shared media. This statement is quite evident in our modern day of technology and the inevitable divide that it brings with it. What we find ourselves in is a world filled with too many boundaries, may they be racial, social, or political. However, something that has stood the test of time is a human's inherent love of music. With this love of music comes a need to share and create together, and a particular music that does so is rap and hip hop. Through the remix found in modern day hip hop and rap music, artists are able to bring people together and positively reach out to a broad audience with their art and influence. This is so important because it gives a voice to a demographic of people who would be silenced without it. In the early 1970s, in the South Bronx, New York City, a subcultural art movement was stirring. Many of the folks that lived in this urban area were of ethnic descent, art historian Robert Thomas describing the demographic as English-speaking African Americans from island nations such as Barbados. Grandmaster Flash was just one of the big names that came from this ethnic background to find stardom. Now, this early form of hip-hop used rhythms from salsa, traditional African conga, and bongo drums, mixed with the existing styles of jazz and funk found in African American culture for many years prior to the 1970s. This is the first time in which hip-hop had attracted a broad audience, and this was because hip-hop was able to use genres and styles of music that had already existed to create a new form of music that would feed into our American culture for over 4 decades. It would not be until the 1980s that hip-hop would become popularized outside of the African American community. This was because of the rapid rise of technology. The art of DJing and MCing would give way to musical groups such as NWA, Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, and so many more. Using a specific art form called turntablism, which was a technique that manipulated and mixed sounds using phonographic turntables, artists created their hip-hop focusing on parts of the songs called breaks, which focused solely on the beat. The result of this technique was a unique sound made by the formation of 2 songs into one. Once again, hip-hop was able to break the ties of traditional music to become something that was truly original. The hip-hop artist's ability to succeed on such a large platform was proof that the world wanted these young, mostly African American men's voices to be heard. As hip-hop grew more and more popular, the songs, tracks, and ways of making them was evolving. Producing and beat making is a means of making music by which sampling is heavily used. What a producer does is create a song by using a variety of sampled works that already exist, and mixing these sample loops with a beat. Dr. Dre is maybe one of the most well-known producers of all time. He came into the spotlight as a teenager with his group NWA. These young men were able to become successful using remix and the remaking of works that were already around. Dr. Dre's debut solo studio album, The Chronic, which in its time was seen as innovative and groundbreaking, received acclaim from music critics worldwide. Each song on the album took inspiration from many different songs and artists of generations previous to Dre's. For example, in the 3rd track of the album titled Let Me Ride, Dr. Dre samples 4 different songs. His ability to utilize previous works and remix them to achieve his own sound is what made this album so popular. The modern day of hip-hop and rap has laid the path for hundreds of artists based upon the remix of others. People like Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Big Sean, and Kanye West are just a couple of the huge names headlining this movement. More importantly, these people serve as something for the youth of America to look up to. People who have come from nothing to reach one common goal. Kanye West has very successfully used his musical ability to become one of hip-hop's biggest names. In his song Gold Digger, which West co-produced, he heavily uses samples from Ray Charles's I Got a Woman. However, this song is just one example of Kanye's sampling. In fact, he has done so in a variety of his other songs such as Jesus Walks, Through the Wire, Last Call, and many more. Hip-hop artists, while becoming successful, were able to reach out to a broad and expansive audience. And believe it or not, these men and women have created a lasting impression on our culture that will not go away anytime soon. Hip-hop has proved to us that remix and remake culture is not only a legitimate music style, but a means of reaching out to a broad audience and perhaps invoke change in our world.